This is episode 009. Welcome, fellow anglers, to the Good Karma Sport Fishing Podcast. I am Captain Ryan Van Fleet, your host here in the Florida Keys. Each week, I bring you fishing tips, interviews, gear reviews, and more to help you maximize your fishing trip, catch big fish, and overall have fun. In this episode, I want to tell the story about why I don't work with a fishing mate. I get asked this question often, and it's a bit of a story and some learnings, so I thought I'd share with you. Now, when I bought the Good Karma, the boat was stripped down. It had one GPS and one sonar that only worked when it felt like it, which, by the way, drove me crazy, but that's for another episode. During my first 7 months as a guide, I went through 5 mates. Yep, 5 mates. Now, it's the industry standard, so to speak, to use a mate for blue water pelagic fishing. Now, they help set the lines, set the anchor, clear the weeds, get the bait, clean the fish, clean the boat, and keep the customers entertained. And on a lot of charters, they're the ones that mainly spend the time with the customers while a lot of captains sit in the tower. It's a big job. I know firsthand because I worked as a mate on a party boat when I first moved down here to the Florida Keys. A fishing mate is a rough job with little or no appreciation. It's hot out, messy, and smelly. Imagine all the fish guts and chum and even the throw up if someone gets sick. It's a seasonal business, so the pay can really fluctuate. And to make matters worse, some captains yell, and they're even tough on their mates. It can be a tough job, a really tough job. In my past life, it seems like a century ago, I worked in the food and drug manufacturing business. Now, I have a college degree in biology with an emphasis in zoology and was in supervision management. It's common knowledge there was a decline in the work ethic amongst employees, and it was hard to find good people. So I was happy to walk away from all that drama. My mistake is that I thought it was just the people in the company and their hiring decisions, but I quickly learned it was everywhere, guys. Now, please note that the names have been changed or not even mentioned, but the stories and lessons are good, hints while I'm sharing. First, it was very stressful starting out in the charter fishing business, amongst the best in the world. I have a lot of respect for other captains down here. Some have been fishing their whole lives, and I'm sure they have their own fishing mate stories to tell. I was just starting out. I had a clean slate, fresh eyes, and I had a lot to learn. When I went through the hiring process and trying to find a mate, I did my best to explain the demands of the job. I really don't think most mates or even people realize that truthfully it's not that glamorous as one would expect. My wife has had some really cool jobs, and she always says she can make it sound glamorous or can tell you how it really is, and that's the truth, not all glamour. As I made extra money, I would pay extra. Now I aim to be fair. Now the mates are paid $50 a trip, and they kept 100% of the tip money. I also paid a bonus at the end of the month if I could afford it. But honestly, no one made it a month, and that's the honest to God's truth. I put ads in the Craigslist, and I couldn't believe how many resumes I received. Most were just bad, so I trashed them. I also got some resumes that were just crazy with egotistical people. One guy proceeded to tell me, "I'm not afraid of any type of weather." I'm like, oh boy, one of those. So anyways, I'm not even going to get into that, but the resumes were crazy. "I'm not afraid of any type of weather. I just go." So that's a guy you want to have on your side. Not. My first mate, Chuck, was a guy who lived up north, and he said he was willing to do anything to get into the charter fishing industry in the Keys. I was excited because he seemed very ambitious, and he seemed to have a lot of fishing experience. Now, the rest of the job requirements, I felt I could teach him over time. Well, when Chuck showed up to the boat to meet me, he brought along his daddy. Now, this was an interview, so I was a bit off guard. I wasn't expecting that, as I never took my dad to an interview, but I shrugged it off. I should have realized that when he showed up with his dad, the dad would try to become involved and get his opinions in. Granted, I was new and I had a lot to learn, but Daddy's comments were demeaning and very constructive and just set a bad tone. I even went as far to take them both fishing at the same time. He had asked if his dad could come along one day as we were going to do some training. I said, it's all good. I'll take your dad. But to say the least, it didn't go very well. I didn't think much of it, but it was just something set bad in my gut that day. I was starting to feel that Chuck wasn't a very good choice, and you got to follow your gut feeling with with anything in life. If you don't, then I strongly encourage you to start doing so. Those feelings were strong, but I was basically ignoring it. I needed a mate. I needed to get my business going. It was season, and I had a boat payment I needed to pay. I had lots of bills. As the charters went on, things got worse with Chuck. He became a smart ass. He was always challenging me in front of clients, being unprofessional. And to top it off, he hated cleaning fish, which was a major part of his job. He also had no interest in learning how to rig baits and so forth. So I like to yellowtail fish, and yellowtail fishing is an extremely dirty job. A lot of people want to catch yellowtail. It's easy to, they're fun. It's light tackle. But I had one yellowtail trip. The boat was, not one. All the yellowtail trips when I get back to the dock, my boat's a disaster. So, we came back after a yellowtail trip. The boat was a complete mess. I realized this may be a job for both of us. So I asked him if he needed help. He said no, he was fine. Then the next morning, I got to the boat, only to find that he flooded the bilge pump, sprayed waters in areas I told him not to spray water. He ruined the electrical system. It set me back hundreds of mechanical repairs, let alone lost fishing time. It was obviously intentional. Unfortunately, I should have trusted my gut sooner and got rid of him. Now, my next mate, John, he only lasted a few days. He insisted on bringing his friend along on the charters. I think he thought it was a social job. He also, was completely unreliable. I really didn't know if he was going to show up or not. Not even sure if I really ended it. It just fizzled. One thing about the Keys, something that I learned down here is that people get what they call the Keys disease. They just get enough money, and then they don't want to work. Can you believe it? You're down here, you get to fish for a living, and then you just flat out get lazy. End up being in the bars, talking fishing rather than going fishing, and seeing, people telling each other how great they are at fishing, but they don't fish. So I was pretty certain he and his friend fell into that bucket. Now, the next story is kind of crazy. I'm still good friends with this guy to date. He's actually a very good guy, seems to have 9 lives, and has gotten his life together over the course of the years. But anyways, I'm going to call him Rico. Rico was working at the tackle shop at the marina that I was docked at. He had just moved to the Keys and was still in that Keys honeymoon state of mind, living that sunshine millionaire lifestyle. Rico, oh my gosh. Rico cleaned a mean boat, and, damn, he was good with the clients. He just, he had that personality people liked. He caught on quickly, told some great jokes, and he made me laugh. It was hard not to like this guy or get angry at him, when he screwed up. So I was very forgiving with him. However, it's tough to keep a guy on when he doesn't show up because he ends up in jail. Yes, jail. Another very common thing down here. I still can't remember why he ended up in jail, but he did. And it wasn't anything major, but unfortunately, that was the end of his mate career with me that day. To this day, I'm friends with him, and we still talk. We have a good laugh about those days. Good lesson to be able to forgive, laugh, and move on. Rico being a mate on my boat it wasn't meant to be. My next mate, I'm going to call him Dale. someone else I knew. He was not necessarily a friend, but seemed like a decent guy. He was our neighbor, and he was living with his girlfriend, who we had known for a while. Now, he was out of work and he needed a job, and I wanted to help the guy out. I asked if he was interested in helping me from time to time, make some extra money, and he said he was all in. Now, the first few trips, they went well. He was quiet and he worked hard. He even had a few good suggestions to help out and was very easy to get along with. He also made some really good money for the 2 weeks that he worked for me. I was pretty busy fishing every day, even with some doubles, but then shockingly, all hell broke loose. His girlfriend, believe it or not, got really weird and abusive with him. It was like she was jealous that he was making money and doing well. She would lock him out, scream, throw his stuff outside, you name it. This stuff was right out of a reality TV show. I was like, what the heck? She was really toxic and gave him the ultimatum, making him choose between fishing or making money, or her. I was like, what the heck? Between fishing, making money while you're fishing, or her. Truth, guys. Now, he actually stayed with us in our spare bedroom for a few nights, trying to figure it out. We let him have a place to stay, figure it out. We woke up in the morning, and his wife threw all his crap out onto the patio. She came beating on our door looking for him. She finally, believe it or not, made the guy quit. We couldn't believe it. You'd think she'd be super excited that her boyfriend was doing well and making some money versus sitting on the couch drinking beer. But no, she wasn't. She basically told the guy he wasn't supposed to work anymore. He wasn't supposed to be a fishing mate. You got to stay home and sit on the couch. I was completely shocked. So who knows whatever happened to this guy, but it sure made me appreciate my life. After that, my wife looked at me and said, now I'm going to be your mate. And I was like, what? She goes, let's get these trips in and automate your boat so you don't have to deal with this BS anymore. And that's what we did. Now, for 3 months, I took every trip I could. Our goal was to save for an autopilot and a windlass anchor so I wouldn't need a mate. Now, the last thing I want to do on a boat is have a customer get behind the wheel of the boat or pull the anchor of a boat. That is not right for any charter boat captain unless there's an emergency, to have a client get behind the boat or help pull that anchor. So when you're booking a trip, you need to ask those questions because that could set yourself up for failure. So just FYI. So anyways, back to the story. Our goal was, to save for this stuff so we could automate. We ate a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and we saved the money that we earned from the trips to apply to the items we needed. Luckily, we both like peanut butter and jelly. Truth be told, my wife is not an angler. Her idea of fishing is tossing some Fritos into the water and finding good music on the Sirius radio channel. That's the truth. She grew up in the city. She didn't grow up fishing. But for this, she put her blinders on and got it done. Melinda knew nothing about fishing, but she caught on quickly. We worked pretty well together, but as anyone does, we both had our moments. As soon as I made enough money to buy the windlass anchor and the autopilot, the timing was just right for her business as she got busy, and that was that. No more mate. The Good Karma is completely automated now. Something I learned in the manufacturing industry is that people are replaceable by machines and technology. And often the machines and technology can do the work of 3 to 4 people. Sad but true, as I do believe in job creation. However, Good Karma runs like a well-oiled machine without a fishing mate, and certainly less drama. A GPS autopilot can't talk back to you, nor can a windlass anchor. They show up, they're on time, and if they break, you're responsible for fixing it yourself without all the drama. In addition, I have learned that my clients actually like to fish, meaning They themselves actually like to set the hooks and catch the fish and learn. I have heard many times that there are some charters in the Florida Keys where the fishing mate actually does all the fishing for the customers, and the customers are not allowed to do anything. So, which is not good. So, tip: make sure you ask the captain for specific details before booking. Ask the captain if he's going to let you set the hook and reel in your own fish. If he says no, then that's probably not going to be the charter for you, unless you just want to go along for a fish and eco tour where you sit back and just watch, take a picture with the fish. Sure, you get to take the pictures with the fish, but in the end, you just paid a charter to take a picture with a fish so he can use your picture to sell more trips. You were just a spectator on your own charter, so just find out. All in all, it continues to be a journey. I've learned to shrug off the comments about cleaning my boat at the end of a yellowtail trip. I found a great bait guy, so I don't have to try to spend time catching bait. And guys, I love the long hours of preparation that I put in. I enjoy getting up at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning and prepping. I constantly hear it from other people. You're going to burn yourself out. Guys, everybody works different. And over time, I learned how to adapt. And I found a really good customer base that does appreciate what I can offer them. Most fishing guides have never seen a factory blow up in the middle of the night or had to deal with real major business problems. As I look back, I think working in the corporate world has given me an edge on how to handle the pressure of running a fishing charter business, and I'm very grateful for that. Thank you for listening. If you have any feedback, comments, questions, or suggestions, I would like to hear from you. You can find me on Facebook at Good Karma Fishing Charters, Instagram at Good Karma Sport Fishing _FL_Keys, or you can email me at goodkarmaryan@gmail.com. Now, please also share this podcast with a fellow angler and check out my website, goodkarmasportfishing.com, and sign up for the monthly newsletter. I aim to provide you with fishing tips and information so you can make the best out of your time fishing. Most important, just remember, anytime you are fishing, it's all good.